All right. Are we live? I think we are live. I think we're live. Let me. All right. So, hello, and welcome to the animation news stream from Cells and Circuits. I'm your host, Chibeze. Um, and yeah, we could just jump right into it. So we have a couple of interesting titles or some interesting news stories to talk about. Um and so the first thing one of the things we're going to be talking about is the fact that it seems like Bob's Burgers is not leaving Adult Swim. And then another one is that or is the Disney Spectrum deal and how it affects FXX, Freeform, and maybe even Adult Swim. So yeah, we got some good topics to talk about. So um if you will give me just one quick moment while I make a social media post. Let me unmute myself. So let's just get into the first topic here. So I'm going to present my screen. And so if you can see my screen here, this is a post that comes to us from Animated Plus on the platform formerly known as Twitter. I'm not calling it by its current name because I think it's stupid. But uh, so so what this is a post from Animated Plus talking about um, some recent changes to FXX and its schedule. So FXX is basically going to have Bob's Burgers in a permanent weekday slot. So that's interesting, but get this. They're also or it looks like they're also going to be gaining the rights to earlier seasons. So FXX I think had the rights to seasons. I think it was either 9 or 10 of Bob's Burgers and later, while Adult Swim and TBS, to an extent, had the rights to the first 8 seasons, I believe. And someone can correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, but Anyway, it seems like FXX is um, getting ready to air the first 8 seasons of Bob's Burgers. But then, um, when you combine that uh, with another story that I have, which comes from CN schedules over on the same platform, platform formerly known as Twitter. Um, you also have the fact that it looks like Bob's Burgers is going to be staying on Adult Swim. It was originally thought that Bob's Burgers was going to leave Adult Swim this month. Um, but it looks like Bob's Burgers will be airing on what's called Pete Smith Day, which is um, a day that celebrates Pete Smith, a former employee of Adult Swim. And they have some special programming for it and stuff like that. Um, when Family Guy left Adult Swim 2 years ago, it didn't make it to Pete Smith Day. So the fact that it is airing on Adult Swim, or the fact that Bob's Burgers is airing on Adult Swim for Pete Smith Day is one, or I would say is one thing pointing to Bob's Burgers not in fact leaving Adult Swim. And then another thing pointing to it is that, well, Bob's Burgers has been included in certain promos regarding the primetime block on Adult Swim that starts from 7 p.m. on Monday through Saturday. Um, and then also, if I remember correctly, yeah. So yeah, the show actually airing on Pete Smith Day and its promo in the prime time, or its inclusion in the prime time block promos. Both of those things point to Bob's Burgers, in fact, not leaving Adult Swim. And when you combine this and Animated Plus's post that I showed you earlier, then you see that you see that um, FXX and Adult Swim will actually be sharing the rights to the entire series of Bob's Burgers, which is great news for people who air or who watch Bob's Burgers on Adult Swim. It means you have options now. Um, so but I am curious to see what an Adult Swim without Bob's Burgers would look like. I imagine there would be more King of the Hill and Futurama reruns to kind of compensate for that. But and I think that's going to definitely, or that's going to be an interesting topic for when we get into like what what it means for Adult Swim to have actually kept Bob's Burgers, because I think we're going to talk about that after our next story. Um, and this is an interesting one. This just happened today. So the next one is actually going to be the ongoing saga of, or well, I guess no longer ongoing, right? But the Disney Spectrum conflict, where Disney and Spectrum basically had like or they had a conflict where they couldn't really hatch out a deal to keep all of Disney's networks on Spectrum. And they or every single Disney network was just blacked out from Spectrum for a few days. And so that frustrated a lot of people, especially sports fans, because Disney owns ESPN, for those of you who don't know. And so Spectrum viewers were blocked out of all of the ESPN sports broadcasts that were happening. So, man, um, I wish all these ads weren't here, but it's fine. Um, anyway, so Disney and Spectrum, it looks like they've hashed out a deal to keep um, essentially the core Disney networks on Spectrum. But the big caveat here is that a lot of Disney's, I guess, more premium channels won't be part of that deal. So those channels just are straight up gone from Spectrum. And those channels include Freeform, Disney Junior, Disney XD, FXX, Nat Geo Wild, and I believe also Nat Geo Mundo. So all of those channels will be gone from or are gone from Spectrum. They're no longer on there, and so when you look at this, and you think of how like Adult Swim lost Family Guy and only FXX and Freeform are airing that, and both of those channels are now gone from Spectrum, that means that you or if you have Spectrum, you cannot watch like Family Guy reruns at all. Um, if you or if you're not watching them on like a syndication channel or something like that, a locally syndicated channel. So, or you can't watch you can't watch like your favorite Family Guy reruns, you can't watch the Simpsons reruns because both of those are on FXX and Freeform too. You can't watch the Cleveland show because that's an FXX exclusive. Um, let's see, what else can't you watch? You can't watch Archer. You can't watch. Hmm. Dang, that's or you can still watch King of the Hill via Adult Swim. You can still watch Futurama via Adult Swim. Uh, Um, but and you can still watch Bob's Burgers via Adult Swim because of the deal that I just mentioned, where Adult Swim seemed to have renewed the rights to Bob's Burgers. So that actually comes in clutch for people who want to watch Bob's Burgers reruns because they can't do it on FXX anymore, at least if they have Spectrum. Um, and so this this begs the question, like, what's going to be the future of networks like Freeform or FXX or things like that, because or even Disney XD, because like with those channels being cut off from millions of people, and that's the thing, a cable provider like Spectrum has millions upon millions of customers. So it being taken off of Spectrum, cuts it off from millions of households. So that sucks. So if you're Disney, I mean, I'm sure Disney weighed their options there, but dang, that's or if you're someone who works at those networks, like that's gotta suck knowing that not as many people are watching. But I'm looking at or I'm also looking at this from like an Adult Swim perspective. And if you're at Adult Swim, you're probably cheering right now because less people are going to be able to access a competing network. Um, and that competing network being FXX. Um, and I mean, it's it's good for Adult Swim in a way, because more people are going to or more people are going to be able to watch Adult Swim, or more people will, um, I guess, turn to Adult Swim in lieu of FXX or Freeform not having or not being able to be accessed from Spectrum. Um, and, that means more people can watch, reruns of those Fox shows. Um, but I want to know, do you have Spectrum, or do you live in an area where Spectrum exists? And this is basically a US only problem, but do you live in an area where Spectrum exists? Let me know, and I want to hear from you if you do. And if you subscribe to Spectrum, I definitely want to hear from you. So let me know in the chat what you think of this news. But in the meantime, um, I also want to, I also want to go back to the whole Adult Swim not in fact losing Bob's Burgers thing because it it also begs the question of like, is Adult Swim using or has Adult Swim admitted defeat um by renewing the rights to these Fox shows? Because let's be honest, I mean, it kind of or a lot of their schedule consists of reruns from former, either current or former Fox shows, whether that's Futurama, which used to be on Fox, Bob's Burgers, or King of the Hill. Um, it used to be Family Guy, but that left in 2021 for FXX, Freeform, and main and the main FX channel as well. But I want to know, does Adult Swim rely on the Fox shows too much? Because if you look at a typical Adult Swim schedule, and in fact, I can look, let's see, I can pull up an Adult Swim schedule. Or let me stop sharing that and start sharing. If I can share the Adult Swim schedule. Okay. So when you look at a typical Adult Swim schedule, you find that like a lot of it consists of like either King of the Hill, Futurama, or Bob's Burgers. Surprisingly, no Futurama today. Um, or this is a current Adult Swim schedule. This is what is airing tonight, or even has aired. But you see, like King of the Hill, and then like Bob's Burgers for like 2.5 hours, and then you have American Dad, um, and then another hour of Bob's Burgers, and then you go, let's see, same. All right, I'm not seeing one thing I'm not seeing is Futurama actually, which is strange because Futurama um, was on Adult Swim and was actually like airing quite a lot. So is that just not okay? There we go. We got Futurama. So, all right. So it does air. It just doesn't air all that much. Um, so anyway, um, as and like dating back to even let's say I want to say 2003 when Adult Swim first got Family Guy on the schedule. Like a lot of these former Fox shows have taken up quite a bit of Adult Swim's schedule. Um, and so I want to know, or some people think that like this kind of holds back Adult Swim from being more self-reliant. And then others think that it's just fine that the ratings from these Fox shows help kind of subsidize Adult Swim's more um, original projects. So I want to know, what do you think of Adult Swim's relationship with these Fox shows? Do you think that maybe it's it's a kind of toxic relationship where like Adult Swim kind of just over relies on those shows and like, just doesn't really have much room for much else? Or do you think that maybe it's fine if they get the rights to certain Fox shows and, just, you know, put them on the schedule, especially in prime time for as long as they can, so that they can, continue to subsidize kind of other projects. Um, Let me know in the chat. I definitely want to hear from you. I want to know what you think because personally, I think Adult Swim could be more self-reliant. It's um or they've tried putting their originals in prime time. I remember when Family Guy left Adult Swim, they were for like a short period of time, like I want to say about 2 months or so, they were putting their originals in prime time to try and see what worked. But I guess they kind of came to the conclusion that it wasn't really sustainable. And so they got the rights to King of the Hill and Futurama later that year, and started airing those. And then their originals pretty much just got pushed back to like the either 11 o'clock or midnight hours where they normally were. So I do want to know what your opinions of Adult Swim being um, Adult Swim and relying on the Fox shows. I'm interested in it. I've talked about it a lot on the Cells and Circuits podcast, but I also want to let the audience kind of voice their opinions on the matter. Um, and see what and see what y'all think, because I think it's important to talk about. Some people may not like that I'm talking about Adult Swim and being more self-reliant and things like that, but it's an important conversation to have, especially if they continue to renew the rights to these Fox shows and um, or in lieu of either airing original content or um, developing original content. Because I think, and I've said this on the podcast before, I think Adult Swim could definitely use more prime time friendly originals. Um, that's something they could definitely do. But I am interested. What do you think of the whole thing? Do you think it's right of Adult Swim to use the Fox shows as like kind of a safety net or not? Let me know in the chat. I definitely want to hear your opinions. Um, but yeah, let's see. Let's see. What else? What else could I? So are there any other topics or that you want to talk about? Let me know in the chat. Also, or if you want me to, if you missed the earlier part of the stream where I talked about, um, Bob's Burgers and it not leaving Adult Swim, and also uh, the Disney Spectrum deal and what it means for Freeform and FXX, and also what it means for Adult Swim, as well as just Adult Swim's reliance on Fox cartoons in general. Um, let me know, or let me know if you want me to go over any of those topics more in depth. Um, but yeah, that or basically that's basically all I had. Let's see. Yeah, if you're in the chat, or if you're watching this live, definitely let me know. Um, Actually, actually, there is one more thing I wanted to talk about. Um, and that is hold on. Or and that is and let me share my screen. So, or there is one more thing I wanted to talk about, and that is Kids WB actually turning 28. Um, so Kids WB, for those of you who don't know, launched in 1995. So a year before I was born. Um, well, I guess a few months before I was born. But regardless, Kids WB launched in 1995, and it ran until 2008, where it got replaced by the CW 4 Kids because 4 Kids had bought that block of time on the CW. And so that was how Kids WB ended. But for me, I mean, Kids WB, um, it was a place to watch a lot of the WB cartoons, the third or some third party cartoons, or in some of like the WB cartoons, I consider like, or there were like reruns of Animaniacs. I think there was like an original season that was made for Kids WB. Um, there was also Tiny Toon Adventures. You had like Freakazoid. Um, and then you had like some, or you had things like Tom and Jerry tales. You had, or just, there were just so many original cartoons. You had Mucha Lucha. Oh man, Mucha Lucha. You had some DC cartoons that even aired on Kids WB, like Batman Beyond, Static Shock, The Batman. Um, Teen Titans aired reruns on Kids WB because it was a Cartoon Network show first and foremost. Um, but I guess they let Kids WB air the reruns of that. But I believe they got shown first on Cartoon Network. Anyway, um, and speaking of Cartoon Network, Kids WB was the place, at least if you didn't have cable, where you could get like previews of Cartoon Network series. So I know back in like 2002, they aired the Powerpuff Girls to promote the movie that was releasing at the time. Um, Other Cartoon Network shows aired on Kids WB, like Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Codename Kids Next Door, um, Samurai Jack aired on there as well. And so just, or Kids WB just was like, or for me, was kind of a goaded Saturday morning cartoon, or a weekday and Saturday morning cartoon block because it also aired on weekdays. But it was it was such a great Saturday morning block, and um, I'm very glad that it existed. But let me know in the chat. Do you have any memories of watching Kids WB? What was your favorite show that aired on there? Um, Mine was probably, or mine was probably Batman Beyond. Um, but I also enjoyed things like Static Shock. Um, I also enjoyed watching like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh. Um, there was a lot to Kids WB's programming. There was quite a lot. So let me know in the chat if you watched Kids WB as a kid, or if you were old enough to watch Kids WB as a kid. And if you're and if you're younger than um, the Kids WB era, um, let me know. Let me know what shows, or how about this? Let me know what shows from Kids WB you've watched elsewhere. There we go. Let me know that in the comments or in the chat. And yeah, but I think honestly, I think that is pretty much it. I didn't really have anything. I didn't really have anything else because not much else really happened in the animation space. Um, but I will say one thing that one thing that did happen is, and I can share, the release date for Phoenix Eden 17 um, came out, and I can pull that up real quick. Um, let's go on. So if I can like share. So if we go to Tezuka's page on the platform formerly known as Twitter, um, you can see that, or you can see that that Phoenix Eden 17, which is um, or which was made by Tezuka Productions, is coming to Disney Plus worldwide on the 13th. And that was something that I forgot to add onto my new animation releases for September. And so I forgot about that. That is my bad. But yeah, Phoenix Eden 17 releases on the 13th on Disney Plus around the world. And then I believe also it's coming to Hulu um, here in the US. So, see if I can pull up another tweet. Let's see. Sorry, working with me. I'm making this up as I go along. But if we pull up another tweet on on the platform formerly known as Twitter, you'll see that Phoenix Eden 17 has a placeholder page on Hulu. So, or it looks like it's going to get a simultaneous release, or I hope, or fingers crossed, we don't get another um, Heavenly Delusion situation where it was delayed, or where the release was delayed um, on Hulu in the US, but everywhere else in the world got the series either on time or in the English dub's case, um, early, but fingers crossed that, Disney releases the entirety or the entirety of Phoenix Eden 17 simultaneously. I can't talk today across both Disney Plus and Hulu. Um, and so if you look on my new animation releases for September, I just added Phoenix Eden 17 because I had completely forgotten about that. I forgotten it was releasing this month, but glad that Tezuka reminded us of that. And so, yeah, Phoenix Eden 17. It's coming out, let's see, well, this Wednesday. So, or right around the corner. So, yeah. Um, but that is basically it for the topics that I wanted to talk about. If you had any of your own, please feel free to mention them in the chat. Um, and if you wanted to talk about something that I had talked about earlier, uh, like Adult Swim and its reliance on the Fox cartoons, or the Disney Spectrum deal and what it means for FXX and Freeform, or just Bob's Burgers being kept on Adult Swim, um, for or for the near future, definitely let me know. Let me know in the chat. I want to hear. I want to hear your thoughts. But I'll hang out, or we'll just hang out for a little bit longer, and then we'll call it. Wait, hold on. All right. Okay, yeah. I think this is much better. So I can actually click on. But yeah. Let me know what your thoughts on any of these topics are. I am super interested in hearing what you have to say. Because yeah, I love my community. I want to hear what you have to say. But yeah, Sure. This stream has been going on for like 47 minutes. So if no one wants to say anything, I'll probably get out of here at like an or at the hour mark. So yeah, maybe in like 12 minutes or so. Or give it another 12 minutes. Um, what else? All right. For those who are just joining, um, we actually talked about quite a bit on here. So we talked about Bob's Burgers being kept on Adult Swim. We also talked about um, Phoenix Eden 17 and its release because I forgot to include that in last week's stream. Um, Also talked about the Disney Spectrum deal and what it means for the likes of Freeform and FXX, because those two are the only other um, Disney networks outside of like Disney XD, Disney Junior, and Disney Channel that air animation. Um, and then we also talked about like Adult Swim and its reliance on the Fox cartoons, in lieu of it actually being or in lieu of Bob's Burgers actually staying on Adult Swim. And then we also talked about Kids WB's 28th anniversary. Um, I also launched a short that you can watch on this channel where I talked about Kids WB and the importance of being able to access Cartoon Network cartoons if you didn't have cable. So if you missed that short, it's on the same channel. So once you finish watching this stream, you can go ahead and watch that short. But yeah, or that's all I've talked about. If you want me to go more in depth, or if you have any questions about any of these topics, let me know. Or if you just want to chat more about any of these topics, let me know in the chat. Really appreciate really appreciate the engagement. Also appreciate the or just you tuning in. If you don't want to chat, that's fine. Just you tuning in is honestly enough. So I appreciate that. giving me your time when you don't have to. But yeah, um, I'll hang out here for a few more minutes. And if no one has anything else to say, then we'll keep it a short stream um, at an hour. But yeah. Up. We got some glitching going on. Let's Does Chrome want to glitch out on me now? Let me also. There we go. Oh yeah, one more thing we talked about was FXX starting to air the first what 8 seasons of Bob's Burgers. I mean, and when you combine that with Adult Swim seeming to keep Bob's Burgers, it means that basically Adult Swim and FXX will be sharing Bob's Burgers or the entirety of Bob's Burgers uh, s- simultaneously. So yeah, that's another thing that we talked about earlier. And somehow I closed that tab, but or I closed the tab that had this on it, but it's all right. Um, we're fine. But yeah, let me know, um, or let me know what you want to talk about. If there's a topic that I didn't mention that you want to talk about, I do want to know about it. Please, please feel free to leave leave a comment in the chat. But yeah, I'm gonna stay for a few more minutes and then I'm gonna head out if no one has anything else. I will say that I am interested in Phoenix Eden 17 or just because I like space. It's interesting. I've always, or I, like at least as a kid, I've wanted to be an astronaut, so I've wanted to know what space is like. So, yeah, let's see. Man, I will say that there are less Fox shows, and I don't even know if I want to count American Dad um since I guess TBS owns the rights to it. So as long as TBS continues to fund the episodes, Adult Swim can still rerun them. Um, but there are less King of the Hill and Bob's Burgers reruns than I thought there were. I guess they didn't really want to spam the schedule with all of those. Um, but I imagine as Adult Swim gets more or gets the newer seasons, we're gonna start seeing a lot more Bob's Burgers on Adult Swim. Um, but yeah, um, if if no one has anything else to say, then I'm just going to start wrapping things up. Um, Thank you so much for watching, whether you watch for like a minute or whether you watch for the entire stream. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate the support and yeah, I really appreciate the support. If you liked these kinds of streams, let me know by leaving a like on YouTube. And if you want to, or if you feel like being a cool person, um, make sure you subscribe on both YouTube and Kick because um, Mondays we do our animation streams just like this one. Wednesdays we do our tech streams, and then on Friday and Saturday we do gaming streams. And I want to see if I can actually do like kind of a switch Saturdays, so we can do some games on the Nintendo Switch on Saturdays. I want to see if I can start doing that this Saturday, but on Fridays, we normally do some like Disney Speedstorm. Um, we started back doing Young Souls from the beginning. So if you missed that, you can watch the gaming streams on our gaming channel, youtube.com/ at cells and circuits gaming. Um, and what else? Oh, the podcast is going to return on September 18th. So if you have been missing, or so if you miss us doing the podcast, or if you miss me doing the podcast, don't worry, it's coming back. So yeah, really appreciate you watching the stream. I appreciate you tuning in. But I am going to get out of here. So thanks for watching. Um, this has been Chibeze with Cells and Circuits, your place for tunes, tech, and where both intersect. But yeah, that's it. I'm Chibeze signing off. Later.